Welcome to another episode of Consumer Protection and You with Ryan Lippe. Today, we're going to be talking about more consumer tips on online shopping. So stay tuned. Welcome back to another episode of Consumer Protection and You with Ryan Lippe. Ryan is a consumer educator with the State of Ohio Attorney General's Office, Dave Yost. Ryan, it's always a pleasure talking with you.
Nice to be back with you and your audience. I appreciate it.
You know, 'tis the season to be jolly. And you know what makes many of us want to become jolly? It's Christmas time.
Yes, the holiday season is upon us. For some of us, it came upon suddenly when we started seeing emails and decorations at the mall. For others, it's been a little more subtle, and we've consciously plotted out exactly how we're going to do our holiday shopping, whether it be online or in person, or probably a hybrid, a little bit of both. You know, you might want to get gift cards to a local restaurant, but on the other hand, you might want to get somebody electronics at one of those big box stores or someone that does a lot of business over the internet.
You know, Ryan, because of COVID-19 and because we've been sequestered in our home, many of us who normally go out and shop have been shopping online. And I would venture to say that there's a lot of misgivings once we do that and something goes wrong.
Well, certainly, for people that are brand new to online shopping, you might not be used to what to do if you need to return the item, what to do if it doesn't fit correctly, what if you just don't want it anymore. It's a lot easier to take something physically back to the store 5 or 20 minutes away than it would be to send it, who knows where, for a return unit to look at the item and hopefully issue you a credit at some point. The good news is, a lot of the big retail chains, a lot of the folks that have websites as well as physical stores, you may be able to return your item to a physical store, even if you bought it from that company's website. It really just depends on their return policy. But let's learn about how to do some of that online shopping. Ask in advance or read the policy online before you put in your credit card number and commit to buying the item. What to do if it doesn't fit, what to do if there's a restocking fee. You might not get all your money back then. And, what about if you do need to return it online? How do you send it out? Do they pay for the return shipping, or is that burden on you as the consumer? As long as they're truthful and upfront about a return policy, they can essentially do what they please in the state of Ohio, but they do have to be upfront. They do have to disclose what the return policy is if they have one. And for the most part, if they don't state anything and don't really have a return policy, you should be able to return the item if it doesn't fit, if there's something wrong with it, something like that.
That is very, very true, especially for individuals that are just not used to online shopping. And so this is our first experience.
Well, and there are some partnerships that have come out, over the last couple of years, especially with the pandemic, of some online stores teaming up with brick and mortar stores to offer returns. I know, for example, right now, as we speak in November of 2021, Amazon is able to partner with Kohl's, the department store. So I had to take back some slip covers for a sofa that didn't quite fit right a few weeks ago. And instead of having to mail them back to Amazon and having to request a shipping label and putting it in the mail and waiting days upon days for a refund, it was pretty seamless. I went into the Kohl's location of my choice that offered returns for Amazon through the partnership, and within 3 or 4 days, my Amazon account was credited based on Kohl's being in receipt of my slip covers that I took physically into the store. They did all the boxing and returning for me. I just had to print out some information like a barcode and all the return information to take it into Kohl's to let them know what to do with my old slip covers, to take them and send them to Amazon. So that's just one of the partnerships that's been developed. I'm not out here promoting Amazon or Kohl's, but the two are working together to provide some seamless transactions between physical stores and online stores.
When we do shop online, there can be some hidden fees, such as delivery services. And I would imagine that we have to be very, very careful when ordering online that we remember some of those extra charges.
Absolutely. I think the most obvious one is tax. Some people think if they buy something online, they don't have to pay tax on it. That's not really true anymore. For the most part, especially if you're using one of those big box retailers, if you're going to a store that does business in literally every state in the United States, most likely you might have to pay tax. So, if something claims to be $24.99, bump that up a little bit for the same kind of taxes you would pay if you were at the mall. Also, make sure you know whether there is a shipping and handling fee. That can burden some folks. Sometimes the shipping and handling is free if you spend a certain amount of money. Other times the shipping and handling might be a little more than you'd expect, especially if it's a small item. But as we had talked about in the first question about return shipping, you might want to know if there is a restocking fee. What that will do is take away from giving you every dollar back if you do have to return the item. A lot of times, especially with computer items and with electronic devices, things like that, there may be a 10 or 20% restocking fee, especially for online only shopping. If you know you're going to have to return the item in the mail, if you do find something wrong, or if there is an item you don't need anymore, know who's responsible for return shipping. Because, I'll tell a story. I bought a very, very small jewelry item one time. It was literally less than $10. And I needed to return it because it didn't fit. It was a ring. It was a very inexpensive ring. And I returned it. But the fact of the matter was, it cost me about $10 simply to ship the item back. And I was responsible for return shipping. So learn from my lesson. If you're buying something for less than $10, you may be best to stick with it if you are responsible for return shipping.
Some of the bigger stores will not charge.
Correct.
But I found that understanding those policies ahead of time does save some aggravation.
Yeah, and if you are giving gifts, it's all the more important to understand the exchange and return policy, because either you might be asked to do that yourself, especially if it's a close relative or friend, or you may need to relay that information to whoever you're giving the gift to. So it's best not to make them research it. Be a little friendly with your gift giving, and make sure you know all of the limitations and all of the responsibilities before you put in your credit card number. And by the way, credit card is really the way to go if you're buying online in terms of maximizing your consumer protections. Cash, checks, debit cards, cryptocurrencies, those are really going to be an obstacle to you being able to have a seamless transaction, especially if it does not go as planned. Please use a credit card for your most consumer protections. Now, I also would advocate, as someone who is frugal, for someone who doesn't want to pay hefty credit card bills, I would let people know. I share the theory that you should pay your credit card bill at the end of the month, unless you really want finance charges and interest to build up over the years. So having said that, at least when you use a credit card, it is giving a buffer between you and the business, the merchant that you're buying the product from. If something goes wrong, you can go to your credit card company and ask for what's called a chargeback. If you dispute that you bought the item, or dispute how it was handled, or dispute the dollar amount that was charged to your card, you have that credit card company that can investigate and that can rule in your favor if the facts measure up to what you are asserting. So you are putting at least some of the burden in the credit card company's hands when you buy through a credit card, in terms of doing that investigation and trying to find out who's right and who's wrong if something does go amiss with your credit card transaction for this holiday season.
Now, a debit card, I'm curious, does that operate the same way as a credit card?
It depends how it's processed. Theoretically, if you process the debit card as a credit card transaction, you should get the credit card backing. You should be able to fall back on the credit card regulations. If you're processing the debit card as is, as a debit card, first of all, the money is usually coming right out of your checking or savings account. You don't have the extra grace period or the time to pay the bill. And you don't have really a credit card company to come back to for a chargeback. You do have a bank, and you may be able to get some help from that bank, but there's a little bit more of a burden using a debit card in terms of making sure that you catch any unauthorized transactions as soon as possible, because you may be liable for more in the event that you don't report some misuse of your credit card right away. If you wait and wait and wait, the debit card is not the best vehicle for you to pay for that transaction. If you're someone who takes a while to catch an error, or if you don't look through your credit card statements on a regular basis.
Suppose we suspect something, but we get our statement, and that's 30 days later.
Yeah. Now, usually it's 2 billing cycles in terms of reporting an unauthorized use of a credit card. So myself, I always check my credit card online, not through free public Wi-Fi, but through my secure internet at my condo. I check my credit card online every few days just to see if anything is there that I should be disputing or contacting my credit card company about. In addition, with one of my credit cards, they actually send me a push notification on my smartphone for every transaction that goes through. So I know right then and there if there's something going on that doesn't seem quite right. If I'm in Oglebay Park in Wheeling, West Virginia, and I suddenly see an item from Taos, New Mexico pop up through my credit card, that will tell me right then and there, I didn't get from West Virginia to New Mexico in 5 minutes. It's somebody using my credit card without my permission, without my authorization. That's when you ought to report it to the credit card company and follow their policies and their procedures for making sure you get that money, don't have to pay that money on your bill.
Sometimes it's very difficult to trust the computer system, to trust the security in looking at your statements online.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to know your computer system a little better than you might have when you first bought it. Know what a firewall is. There can be software firewalls, there can be hardware firewalls. Know what encryption means. Make sure your router is encrypted. And if those types of terms are very foreign to you, that's okay. Have that discussion with someone in your life that may know a little more about computers, maybe a little more device savvy than you. Another possibility is to contact your internet service provider. Find out from them how to secure your home network better. And make sure you change passwords that come with your router. A lot of times the routers will use the default password. Scammers may know what that password is, so you want to change it to something that you and only you and your family no, so that you can access the network, but no one else can. Again, your internet service provider can be a good resource. Also, a good resource would be the manufacturers of your equipment and all of the documentation that may have come with your equipment, or simply the website of the router that you own, of the firewall that you own, of the computer that you own. Those can all be nice resources in case you need more information about how to stay safe online.
Many times we travel during the holidays, and oftentimes we'll stay at a hotel or we'll go out to a restaurant, etc. And there they offer free Wi-Fi. I don't wish to use Wi-Fi if I'm doing any type of banking transactions or anything of that nature. Just checking your banking account, is that okay?
I would save that again for when you're at home on a network that you know is secure. If you don't have to even put in a password at a coffee shop or at a gift store, something like that, please don't bank on that network being secure at all. You have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. Someone could literally, a scammer could literally be in the parking lot just waiting for traffic to come through on the web that has passwords, PIN numbers, security questions and answers, things like that. Not to make people paranoid, but please, when you do financial transactions, when you have to put in passwords, when you have to put in potentially credit card numbers, things like that, don't go to the library. Don't go to a hotel necessarily. Wait till you are at home or someone where you know it is a secure network. And if you have any qualms about whether you are in a secure environment, one good step to take would be to explore getting a virtual private network on your devices. VPN is something that's getting into the vocabulary of a lot of people that are doing computing on the run, mobile computing, computing from hotels, things like that. VPN sort of puts kind of a shield around your device. It's not going to be necessarily foolproof by any means, but it gives you extra guard. It gives you extra protection against the potential hackers on an unsafe network.
Now, if you have some kind of LifeLock or some kind of security on that you've purchased, etc., does that keep you protected?
Well, now some services come with a VPN, so you'll be more protected with that VPN than without it. But other times, some of these lock type programs simply inform you of when your credit card has been misused or when your information is on the dark web, which is all good information to know, but it's kind of after the fact. So they might not be monitoring things to the extent of trying to prevent identity theft. They might just help you catch it and repair it. But I also wanted to mention that any website you go to where you are putting in credit card numbers, things like that, you want to make sure that it's a secure website as well as being at home with a secure network. And you'll know it's a secure website when it's HTTPS. Every web address starts out with HTTP for the most part. But if it has that S on the end at the beginning of the address bar, if it's HTTPS, that S stands for secure. And depending on the type of browser you have, your address bar may turn green. You might get a padlock in the address bar. So it's important to know based on your browser how to tell if you are on a secure network.
Let's just suppose I'm at McDonald's. They always have free Wi-Fi, like many other restaurants, etc. And I go to a secure HTTPS. Would my information be secure?
I would still be a little more cautious than that. I would make sure you're both in a secure network environment, meaning hopefully at home or at work, and also on an HTTPS website for that transaction. I would double protect yourself because there are a lot of hackers, and if you're protected one way and not the other way, you may find yourself having information compromised.
I know that when we shop online, we look at the products. One of the useful tools has been reviews.
Sure.
especially if you're purchasing something that costs a lot.
Absolutely. And you want to know if the consumer reviews are accurate. We don't want some website that's curated a bunch of their own reviews unless they happen to be experts, independent experts on whatever whatever product they're discussing. So if you go to some place like Consumer Reports or the Better Business Bureau, or there's a host of different resources out there that are nonprofit, but if you're going to, for instance, a hotel website, you want to stay the night at a hotel, they may only have positive reviews on their own website. And who knows? I mean, there are some unscrupulous businesses that may pay guests to put, that may not have even stayed at the hotel, paid them to put good reviews on what you think are legitimate websites. So be a little skeptical, but look for good reviews that are backed up by photos, that are independent, and that you think are truthful. But also talk to friends and family. Talk to neighbors you can trust. Go with folks that you know are worthy of giving some advice and some recommendations.
So when we purchase online and we are given a guaranteed date that it will be shipped, do we have any recourse if for one reason or another it doesn't get shipped on that day?
Really, it depends. There are some rules at the state and federal level in terms of businesses that don't provide the good or the service that they say they're going to provide. There's some rules in terms of how long they have until they give you the option of giving you a refund. But if you have problems, take a look at our website at the Ohio Attorney General's office. It's www.ohioprotects.org. That's www.ohioprotects.org. But it's always best to try to sort out any problems before they occur. So find out what that shipping estimate is. It may only be an estimate. Contact the company if there's delays. You may have to get the shipper involved, whether that's the U.S. Postal Service or a private company. But stay on task and make sure you know when those goods are supposed to arrive. Call if you think there are going to be delays or if you see that there have been delays. And if you have any problems, go to our website at ohioprotects.org or go call our toll-free number. Our help center at the Ohio Attorney General's office is 800-282-0515. But again, it's always best if you can work things out with the merchant first. And if you have questions or if you're at wit's end, please give us a call. You can issue a complaint and we can get you involved, hopefully, in our informal dispute resolution process. That's where we can actually look at your issue and try to tell the merchant or the business exactly what your side of the story is and go back and forth and try to find a resolution informally. Again, that's not giving legal advice. We're not able to go to court on just your behalf. When we file suit, it's based on usually a pattern or a practice of unfair conduct to a lot of consumers. So don't expect us to go to court on your behalf, but we can get you involved, hopefully, with our informal dispute resolution process and get a favorable result for you.
The state of Ohio Attorney General's office has a lot of really good information about a variety of different issues. Besides consumer protection, what are some of the other areas that the state of Ohio Attorney General's office provides to you?
We actually have over 30 sections in the Ohio Attorney General's office, so that would take a whole other show. But we have a civil rights section that can talk to you about a housing discrimination, workplace discrimination, things like that. We have a whole section that deals with charitable law. So if you see a fraud in a charity that's near you or telling you something over the phone that you don't think is quite right, they take complaints about charities, and you can actually research charities online and through our charitable law section at the Ohio Attorney General's office. We also have law enforcement arms as well. The Bureau of Criminal Investigation and Identification is actually part of the Ohio Attorney General's office. They resolve missing persons cases. They do a lot of evidence handling and sealing up of evidence at crime scenes. Lots and lots of work done at the Ohio Attorney General's office. Those are just a few of the sections that we offer, in addition to the consumer protection section, which I'm a part of.
So how many different consumer educators are there?
There's 3 within the consumer protection section. Myself, Danielle Murphy, and Katie Harper, we go out statewide and we give presentations about consumer protection issues, whether it be identity theft, consumer scams, cybersecurity. If you are interested in a group setting for us to come out and talk about an issue like that, please let us know through our toll-free number, through 800-282-0515. We can do virtual presentations online, like what we're doing now, or we can do in-person presentations for groups of 20 or more individuals. So we do everything from talking to Kiwanis and Rotary clubs, to church groups, to social groups, lots and lots of different groups, senior centers, high schools. We talk around the state about these topics on a daily basis.
So is there a charge for this?
Absolutely not. Everything we do is free and built into our job description. So we like to go out and give presentations. And if something like COVID or weather gets in the way, again, we can fall back and do a virtual presentation, provided that we all have the technology to make that happen.
What are some of the things you recommend to the consumers out there to keep them as safe as possible?
Well, one thing for sure that we really didn't get into is if you see any emails that look suspicious, don't open them. If you see any emails with attachments or downloads, don't open them unless you're very sure about what they are. Especially around the holiday season, we see scams involving phony postal delivery notices, phony package delivery notices. And we've also, to be very timely, we've seen a rash of phone calls throughout the United States by imposters of Amazon and various other companies claiming that there's been a charge on your account that you need to take care of, and to call in order to cancel it. Those are typically not the company they're claiming to be, but scam artists. So please be careful out there, stay safe, and don't be paranoid about shopping online. You can embrace online shopping, but just put some safety tips into use. Make sure you're doing good computing and safe computing, and have a good holiday season for us all.
Hey, we're talking with Ryan Lippe. Ryan Lippe is a consumer educator with the State of Ohio Attorney General's office, Dave Yost. It's always a pleasure talking with you, Ryan, and we always look forward to better understanding how we can stay consumer safe.
Great, thanks so much. Glad to be with you, and we hope to see consumers online and through our help center's toll-free number.